Hey guys, what's going on? Aaron here. Welcome to the video. Sorry I haven't made a video in a couple days. I am still getting over a flu, but I realize I need to make a video for you guys about this crash happening. So I want to start out with this, not to gloat, but I signed up for Coinbase or with Coinbase way back in March of 2013. And yeah, that's a long time ago. What, 12 and a half years ago or something? Not gloating because I did not save my Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, I have been a customer of Coinbase and I guess Mt. Gox as well for a very, very long time. And that affects how I feel about this market and how I feel about this crash. So going back to 2013, right around here, this is when I got my first Bitcoin. I was like, oh my gosh, it went to $1,000. I got very excited. I think I sold them all going up here. I bought some up here at around 1,000, I believe. And then as it crashed 85% to around 150 bucks, I sold all the way down because I had no idea what I was holding. Bitcoin was terrifying. Who the heck would want to hold something that drops 85%? And yeah, that's my Bitcoin origin story. And that's why what's going on right now literally doesn't matter to me. I couldn't care less about what's going on. I can't say it's fun to see this type of crash happen, but I've been here a lot. I was here during 2017, 2018, of course. I was then here during 2020, 2021, and here we are now. So there are a couple of reasons that people are pointing to as to why this crash happened. Long-term, or I should say old Bitcoin holders from way back in the day, whales as they call them, they are selling, which is not a bad thing. I want to get to that a little bit later in the video. And also this government shutdown in the US and how that is affecting liquidity right now. So right now, liquidity is squeezed. Basically, it's not moving and it's sitting in treasury accounts because of this US government shutdown. And this is all happening while the government is still doing quantitative tightening. So that is a bad combination for crypto because crypto is super, super sensitive to liquidity. So when the government reopens, which hopefully happens soon, I know that's kind of a political thing, but I think most of us want the government to reopen, unless you're a hardcore anarcho-capitalist libertarian. But nonetheless, when the government reopens, we're going to see a lot of liquidity flow back into the space. Then we're probably going to see quantitative tightening end in December. We're going to see the dollar weaken, and then we're going to see rates drop. All things that help crypto. Then we got China and Japan adding liquidity as well. And we're going to have the passing of the Clarity Act, which is going to bring a lot more capital into the space. So all of these things will be happening. And also today, or yesterday when you're watching this, we saw a horrible day for the markets. We saw Nvidia down over, or I should say just under 4%, which is enormous, right? We saw Tesla down 5%, and we saw the NASDAQ down over 2% yesterday. And there is a correlation between Bitcoin and AI/tech stocks. At least we're seeing it today, right? The entire market sold off. Even the S&P sold off 1.17%, which is a pretty darn bad day. So we're seeing a lot of factors happen at the same time here, which is putting a lot of pressure on crypto and Bitcoin. And we're also getting news of this. Essentially, there are some red flags, as James Lavish says on X, that the financial system is on the verge of locking up unless the Fed adds liquidity soon. So the Fed has to add liquidity or else there's going to be bigger problems that will come up. And what did I say earlier? Crypto is the great absorber of liquidity, and it'll move the quickest if it senses there is some uneasiness in the force or in liquidity, right? So I want to play this video going over how this is Bitcoin's IPO moment and how this could also be affecting the price of crypto and Bitcoin, and also touch on what Tom Lee said as well 2 days ago. But before I do that, I just want to go over some scenarios here. So a lot of people are talking about the 50-week, the 200-week, taking a look at the charts, saying if we hit this level, we're definitely going to retest another level, which right now is around $55,000. And, you know, that's a very scary thought to go down that low. I get it. But realistically, there are just a few options that can happen. One, we have hit the bottom and we're going to go up from here. Cool. That'd be nice. Another option is we go lower. Maybe we go to 80, 70,000, which would really wipe out a lot of speculators and terrify most traders and people that have never experienced a really hard market before. That would wipe out a lot of people. And that's what crypto does. So maybe we go lower at a level that terrifies the market and we level off there. And then we go ahead and go up from there, right? That's another outcome. The third outcome, which I lost Satoshi's number back in 2013, or else I would call him and ask him what's going to happen. But we go into a prolonged bear market. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. So that would mean maybe 1 to 2 years. It's just crappy and boring and dumb. And you're like, this is lame. And then you stop watching my videos and you come back in 2 years, right? I've been there enough to know that that's what happens. So, that's a possibility as well. We go lower, we hang out there for a year or two, and then we come back up. But there are so many reasons pointing to why that is not going to happen. And I don't believe that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. And I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But there's a lot of data pointing to when the government shutdown ends, and then we have more liquidity from Japan and China. Then we have an end to quantitative tightening, a weakening dollar, and rate cuts, as well as other things, maybe an end of this selling from whales, which I'll get to in a second, that those factors, when they change, will reverse the sentiment of the market and prices will go back up. But ultimately, nobody really knows. If we go into a bear market, that just means we have an opportunity to buy scarce assets with limited supplies, Bitcoin, for lower amounts of US dollars. So it's a great time to stack. It's a great time to buy more. Bear markets are a gift in that sense, and bull markets are just a heck of a lot of fun because you see your US dollar or whatever currency you use denominated account go up a ton. And you're like, wow, I'm getting richer. How fun, right? But it's the bear markets or it's the lower prices where you can accumulate for the good times. So I just want to start there. And I want to play this clip from Tom Lee really quick, talking about where he thinks the market could still possibly go by the end of the year.
I mean, if I look at everything since October 10th, because that was the biggest liquidation in the history of crypto. We're only a couple weeks from that, so I think the market is consolidating. But if I look at fundamentals, like Ethereum, stablecoin volumes have been exploding, application revenues at all-time highs. So right now, fundamentals are leading price in crypto. So I think eventually we consolidate and then we rally into year end. I think we can still get to 150, 200 for Bitcoin, and then something like 7,000 for Ethereum.
So we'll see. We'll see if this market rebounds that quickly. 150K for Bitcoin, 7K for ETH. I mean, that would be a tremendous end of the year. But eventually, I believe we're going to get there, no doubt. I know we're going to get there. It's just a matter of when, and do you have the patience for that? And Tom did bring up a good point that I forgot to mention. So that event on October 10th, that really shook the market hard. That was, as he called, I think he's called it a tsunami, right? It was huge. It was the biggest event for liquidations in crypto's history by far. And we've seen it come back quite a bit. It was 105. It went up to then 115, I believe. Now it's obviously around 100 or so. But it does show the resilience of this market. When the FTX collapse, or when that bankruptcy happened back end of 2022, I mean, the market did not recover from that event. That was just like, nuke it all the way down, right? The market did not recover from that event nearly as well as it has from this, but we're still feeling almost like the aftershocks of that event because it really messed a lot of people up. So this is the final video I want to play for you guys. This is Jordy Visser, and he wrote a really, really good Substack about this, but this video will explain what he thinks is happening in terms of Bitcoin having its IPO, or as he calls it, the silent IPO moment. Let's take a look.
Every possible thing to everyone listening that you would want for Bitcoin is happening right now, meaning the government is supporting things. The financial guardrails are shifting. We've got news after news every single day about the financial guardrails becoming more digital economy. It's things that are necessary for the network effects to kick in. All of that has happened. We still see inflows from retail. We still see the banks now opening it up for people to go through. But there's clearly a bunch of whatever it is, OGs, Bitcoin miners out of China, whoever it is, large amounts, Mike Novogratz publicly said it. If you go back to July, there have been billions and billions of dollars of, let's say, original investors supporting Bitcoin, regardless of how you want to term it. So I'm writing a Substack. I think what people should think about is we don't have an IPO for Bitcoin, but this last 4 months to me feels like sourcing the pricing of the IPO, where the original investors are getting out of large chunks. Now, why is there ever an IPO? For monetization. If someone has 9 billion in Bitcoin, I mean, I think they should diversify a little bit. If it was related to China, guess what China has now that they haven't had since 2014, 15? A bull market in stocks. Guess what else people have? Well, they have the chance to invest in AI. AI is a 10-bagger in many cases. You've been able to do it in the public markets. So I think at some point, Bitcoin becomes a boring asset to people who are looking for 3-baggers, 4-baggers, 5-baggers. It becomes a diversification. So I think this is just a distribution of a few massive holders. And the weaknesses I have heard about Bitcoin as I've gotten into it from institutions, it's too volatile. Not too volatile anymore. We've taken the implied volatility and the actual realized volatility down to 30 and below in some cases. So the vols come down. Okay, what's the next thing? Well, it's too concentrated in ownership. I mean, I've gone through the numbers. When you add Satoshi's wallet, you add the other whales, you're talking about a third of it has been owned by not many people. I think like 10,000 is the number I heard. Regardless of what the right answer is, every month the Bitcoin IBIT outstanding shares goes up. It's up again this month, even though the price is down. So I think everyone that's depressed has actually become entitled. I think they think it's a risk asset. Oh, there's another one. This is just a risk asset. Okay, well, it's not going up with the NASDAQ, so that's good. Lower correlation. Well, it's just digital gold. Well, it's not going up with gold. So guess what? In portfolio theory, for everyone who hasn't bought any yet, I think with your stocks, with your gold, with your bonds, now there's every argument to make. It's lower volatility now, lower correlation with the other traditional asset class, diversification from gold. I think this thing is going to move higher. I was wrong about where I thought we'd be at this point. It's still up for the year. I think once this consolidation is done and we're through the IPO process and the fundamentals take over, next year, once we get through clarity and the beginning of tokenization and the stories of Zelle and everything along those lines, I think we're going to have an acceleration.
All right. So let me know what you think about that, because it's pretty interesting, right? We're seeing a lot of OG Bitcoiners, or wallets, I should say. We don't know if they're individuals or miners. We don't know. They have been selling a lot since the summer. And we are seeing what he's calling an IPO moment, where original investors, they now have the liquidity to diversify and sell into a market that is big enough, has enough liquidity, where if they sell $1 billion, it's not going to crash the market. If these sellers did the same thing back in 2017, they couldn't. They literally couldn't, even then if they wanted to, right? If they wanted to sell at $19,000 back in 2017, they could not sell that much Bitcoin. So he's kind of framing it like we're in this redistribution period where original investors are selling because that's fine. They should be able to. And then institutions and individuals are coming in to buy it up because it's safer. There's less volatility. There is less correlation to other asset classes. It's just becoming a different kind of asset. So that's his take. But anyway, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're doing okay emotionally. It is challenging. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It is hard to see the price of Bitcoin and crypto and altcoins go down quite a bit and go down so quickly. But I've been here for quite a while, and I've seen much worse. I've seen 80% drops many times. So this type of volatility, even though it is painful, it is something that you just have to get used to. And again, worst case, bear market for a year or two, and then we come back up. Best case, we rebound very quickly. Medium case, we go down a little bit, hang out there for a month or two, who knows, and then bounce back up, right? Lots of things could happen, guys. So guys, that is it for the video, and I hope this video helped you feel a little more at ease, at peace with things, letting you know some of the scenarios going on, possible drivers and factors that could change what's going on, right? And yeah, that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Till next time, guys, talk with you soon, and bye for now.